All right, today I'm going to be setting up this 90. You see behind me, it's standard 4 foot by 18 inches. Right now I just have my filters in there, as you can see. But what I'm going to do is make this into a basically African cichlid tank. It's going to be mixed Malawian and Tanganyikan cichlids. And I'm just going to show you how I'm going to do it. I'm using pretty much outcroppings. Some Texas holy rock, stuff like that. I'm going to build up a really nice row of rocks. It's going to look pretty cool. It's going to look something like this. So there's a lot of hiding spots in there. Kind of try to get some good views there, but the fish love it because you can see I have a few smaller fish. They're able to hide for protection. It gives them a lot of cover. So I'm going to be using rocks like this to build something very similar. You can see electric yellow back there is holding, but that's the kind of thing, even when she releases those babies, which she will at some point, once in a while some will end up surviving and they'll be in those little crevices. Okay, so I got the camera a little further back so you can see how I place these, but let me just show you kind of how it's going to work. So you get rocks like this. These are going to be like your base rocks. You want the biggest rocks on the bottom, just obviously for support. And then what I'm going to do is interweave longer, narrower rocks between two big rocks. I'm just going to kind of keep building up. So I'm going to place these kind of starting from the outside in. That's how I like to do it, so I know where my endpoints of my setup are. So trying to get rocks that are like comparable in size so I can put stuff across and it'll be level, because you got to look for levelness too so it works better structurally. Got a lot of gravel in here and kind of like turning it in so it sits very nicely at the bottom of the tank, so you don't have any slippage if fish start digging or something. Okay, so in this case I have a little cave set up here, and you can see the gravel underneath there. The fish are going to dig some of that out, but if you look close, this bridge rock, you can see it's kind of wedged in there really good. I always wiggle the rock a little bit to make sure it's locked in, but you can kind of see how it's locked in on both sides. And then you can see how I have the overhang here, so when I put my next base rock here, I can also put a cave across. So this is what I would call almost a perfect base rock. It's high enough, it's got that height to it, and it has a nice overhang or nice width to it, so I can put one cave here and one cave here. So one thing I like to do in my tanks is I like to have a showcase piece, and if you look at this rock and you're like, yeah, it doesn't really look that special, but then I kind of turn it and imagine, you see how the concaveness, put it on a couple other rocks and it's off the ground, it looks like a really cool cave. And I always like to put those in the middle because I want to showcase them. So in this case, you can see I have the rock in there. It's going to be a really cool centerpiece cave, but you can kind of see the structure starting to work across, and it's all solidly footed to each other, so it's not going to fall down. Also, if you notice, kind of pushing the stuff to the back so there's swim room in front, because you want your fish to be swimming across the front so you can kind of see them. That way it gives a better visual display on them. So I'm going to keep working across the tank here. Here's another rock. It's not a huge rock, but it has that height I'm looking for to make it a base rock. You got to be careful you don't lock your filters in, so you don't want to get your filters jammed up against rocks so you can't pull them out. So make sure there's some space between the rock and the filter. this is also a really cool piece. It's got a very intricate structure. You can see how it's coming together here. When I'm doing this, I'm kind of like looking for other pieces, like, okay, I know this is going to be a bridge rock. It's going to go across the top. I know it's fairly light, but it's also long. So when I put it together, I'm going to make sure my bases are further apart. So kind of thinking how I'm building stuff as I go along, and I'm looking at the available rocks I have. I can take my bridge. Sometimes I don't need to put a rock on each side. That middle centerpiece rock is so high up, I can bridge it with this rock. You can kind of see how it's coming together. And each rock kind of plays off each other. And when you set up structures like this, you set up tons of hiding spots for the less dominant males or females that might not be so dominant, or even fry or babies that get born in the tank. The last thing I like to do is kind of like my trademark, but I think it frames the tank nicely. With Africans, obviously you can't use live plants. I usually take a couple plastic plants and I put one on each end. So this is pretty much the final setup. I think let me pan out here. I think the plants kind of tie everything in. I added this little accent piece. It's a piece of coral, which I think looks pretty cool. I'll just scroll across the tank here. And of course, this is a small fish tank setup. And when I mean that, I mean it's a tank setup for smaller fish. You're not gonna put big South Americans in here like Oscars or anything, because if you do that, they're gonna get scratched on the rocks. So another thing is, I know I get a lot of comments on this, no big deal with that, I agree, but these rocks trap tons of dirt. So over time, you're gonna have to take this whole setup apart. But you know what, for me, I get so much spawning going on, and if I wanna take the babies out, I have to take the whole tank apart anyways. And to be honest with you, this probably took me about 15 minutes to do. So it's not really that big of a deal to me. But I'm gonna add the fish and do a final shot for you guys. This is basically the final product. Haven't got all my fish in there yet. I'm just kind of cycling it a bit. The gravel was already used in another tank, and the filters were too, so still cycling, but it's already at least 50-60% on its way. But you can see how I have the rocks in the back, and it kind of pushes the fish to the front, so you get a really nice display of the fish. You can see my 3 electric blue males, my zebras, my peacocks. They're still young, still growing up, obviously, so got to throw a couple electric yellows in there just for color. I love this guy, he's awesome. He gets a bright yellow with kind of dark on the bottom. There's a white lips baby. He was not baby, but he's about 1.5 inches. He was with another tank and he was getting pounded. But anyways, there's gonna be a lot more fish in here. But you can see, I think it came out awesome. I'm gonna throw some more lights on it, fill it up. I haven't filled it up yet. I like to do things slow, so I'm cycling it now. I'll probably fill up the rest of it tomorrow, and then add a few more fish at the end of the week. Anyways, hopefully that video was helpful to you guys. And I have a few more videos out there on how to set up tanks too.